Welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks. Renata.
I'm Renata Archie, and I'm here in New York City. I was part of um, cohort one doctoral students, and I'm a contributing faculty member in the Reading Science graduate program, so the master's program, and I work in the New York City Public Schools at the district level.
Thank you, Dr. Archie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Una Malcolm. I am in Toronto, Canada. And like Renata, I was also in cohort one of the doctoral program. So I'm about a year or so out. And I work for Dyslexia Canada as the chief academic officer, and I'm part-time faculty at Mount St. Vincent University in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
It also works with us at MSJ doing some contributing faculty work. Thank you, Dr. Malcolm. Mercedes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mercedes Davila, and I am from Brooklyn, New York. I am in cohort 2, and we just graduated a few weeks ago. We're still celebrating.
Thank you, Dr. Davia. Tiffany.
Hello, I am Tiffany Seaman coming to you from Kansas City, also cohort 2, so still celebrating graduation. I am currently working in teacher preparation, teaching undergraduate courses, and next school year I'll be a literacy coordinator for a local school district here in Kansas City.
Thank you, Dr. Seaman. Meredith.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Meredith Cotter. I live in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm also a member of cohort 2, and yes, definitely still celebrating. And in my work life, I work for an education nonprofit doing consulting with districts and schools.
Thank you, Dr. Cotter. Rhonda.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Nelson. I live in Bettendorf, Iowa. I'm a member of cohort 3. We're known as the Mavens, so it's good to be cohort 3. I'm a curriculum, instruction, and assessment coordinator for a school district.
Well, thank you. Nicole.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I am also a member of cohort 3. I am Nicole Flores, and cohort 3 is embarking on the design of our study, just so you know, at this time of year. So while we aren't quite celebrating yet, we are excited and moving into this brave space, and we're so happy that everyone could join us tonight.
Thank you. Nettie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nereida Antunes Gamon, and I live in Anthony, New Mexico. And I am a literacy specialist for a school district. And I'm also part of cohort 3.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a little joke where I would say, oh, it's great to be in cohort 3 because, we figured things out in cohort 1 and cohort 2. But right now, as Nicole said, they're in the middle of designing their presentation or their dissertations and finishing their portfolios. So it's like not so great to be in cohort 3 at this very moment, but we're glad you guys are here. Thank you. And Jim.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Addison. I live in a small town in Wisconsin. I'm a literacy leadership coach at CISA 3, which is a state-based agency that supports our rural districts. I'm in cohort 4, and we call ourselves the Freedom Fighters. And right now we're working on our presentations for the Summer Institute, which I'm sure you'll hear a lot about in just a little bit.
And in class with Dr. Anita Archer, who's co-teaching that class with me. Allison, do you want to introduce yourself as I set up my PowerPoint?
Sure. My name is Allison Kennedy. I work for Mount St. Joseph University in the Office of Admission.
Thank you. And Allison is the wonderful person that you will interact with as you are getting together your application materials, should you choose to apply. So in this information session, we're going to go over a few kind of areas, big areas, give you some information about the program and how it works, the application process and the requirements, as well as some information about the prerequisites, because I know people often have questions about the prerequisites. A little bit about cost, and my favorite thing to talk about are scholarships, thanks to generous funding. And throughout the presentation, I have frequently asked questions that I will pose to our panel members so you can hear their voice, from their perspective as alumni, faculty, and current students in the program. So hopefully that will be helpful to you. And as I said, please do put your questions in the chat. and the panelists will answer them, or they'll bring them forward if it's a good one to talk with everybody about. So at Mount St. Joseph University, we have 7 full-time faculty members in the doctoral reading science program. And then we also have a number of additional contributing faculty members that teach courses and support our program. So we're very lucky to have a real wealth of knowledge and expertise contributing to our doctoral program. So here's a picture of many of our faculty members at our summer institute this past summer. Oh, there's mine. So we're fortunate now to have 5 cohorts that are going through our program. As you heard from our panelists, 2 of our cohorts have graduated. So very fortunately, we've had the experience of having 2 groups fully go through our program and learned a lot from them, and really made sure to make adjustments as we've learned the things that worked and the things that we needed to tweak. So currently, cohort 3, as you heard, is planning their dissertations. Cohort 4 is entering their 2nd year, and our brand new cohort started in May, cohort 5. So to start, I want to talk about who's eligible to apply for our program. Oops, skipped ahead. Who's eligible to apply for our program? So the program is a doctoral program. So you do have to have a completed undergraduate and master's degree in education or a related field. And that related field is really important because we do have people who have degrees like myself in school psychology or speech language pathology. And so we do welcome people in related fields. And actually our faculty is made up of a lot of related fields. So we find that to be a very rich contribution to our program. You do have to be a resident in either the United States or Canada. And that is outside of our control. We would love to be able to offer places for people outside of the United States and Canada, but due to kind of our small regional university, we're just not able to do that because of laws and taxes and things that I honestly don't completely understand, except for to say that I'm unfortunately only able to offer a position in the program to residents of the United States or Canada. And it is residents, not citizens. So this is just the mission statement of our reading science graduate and doctoral programs. So we are committed to preparing educational leaders in the science of reading to affect social justice through impacting educational systems and enabling these systems to provide effective research-based literacy instruction for all. So we take that mission to heart, and we're looking for people who share that mission in terms of being a good match for our program. The purpose of the doctoral program. So why did we start this doctoral program? And this is important because different doctoral programs have different purposes. Some doctoral programs are really creating researchers, and they're training researchers, and they want people who, after they finish the doctoral program, they do research. We are really preparing the next generation of educational professors and literacy leaders. We talk about wanting to prepare people who are the translators of research and the implementers of research. We prepare you to do research and understand research, but our main goal for starting this doctoral program is to have more leaders in the field who can help teachers and educators put into practice the great body of research that we do have around the science of reading. Because we find doing this, that's what's going to transform educational systems, and that's what we're all about. And so that is really who we are looking for, and then who we are training through our coursework. Couple things about our program quality. We are a fully accredited program by all kind of the bodies of Higher Learning Commission, and we are located in the state of Ohio, so we have to go through, just to provide a doctoral program, all the requirements at the state level as well as the national level. It was quite a rigorous process, as it should be, to be accredited as a doctoral program. So it was 2 years in the making in terms of preparing our accreditation materials and going through a pretty rigorous process to make sure our coursework and our faculty and our university was equipped to offer a doctoral program. And then, as I said, now we've gone through 2 full cohorts that have successfully graduated. And I'm really proud to say that we have been successful, that everyone who started our program has completed our program. And we tell you from the beginning, it's a rigorous process to get into our program, but once you're in, you're one of us. And we want all of us to be successful. And so we support our students to all graduate and to be successful. We have had a student here or there who's needed to take a little break and come back and graduate the next year. And that's fine, because that happens with adults who have, complicated lives. They've all been situations that needed them to take a step back from their doctoral program. But I'm really proud to say that we have had all of our graduates successfully complete their doctoral dissertation. So we're not here to weed you out. Once you're in, we're here to support you and to make sure you are successfully, successfully graduated at the end of your time with us. A couple other things to know about Mount St. Joseph University. So even though the doctoral program is a fully online program with a summer institute that is on campus, we are a brick and mortar university. We are not an online university. In fact, the Reading Science program is one of the only online programs at Mount St. Joseph. The other thing to know about us is that we are building our doctoral program off of our very successful Reading Science graduate master's degree program. And that program, we actually have a few different program tracks, Reading Science certificate, dyslexia certificate, an Ohio reading endorsement, and then the master's degree with a concentration in reading science. And that program, we are one of the first programs in the United States to be accredited by the International Dyslexia Association. And we have been a model program for IDA and successfully had reaccreditation 3 times. We also are a reading science program at our undergraduate level. And so our undergraduate program also prepares future teachers in the science of reading. And we have consistently received an A+ from the National Council for Teacher Equality for our teacher preparation program. And again, a program that has been considered a model program in Ohio and has even been pointed to nationally. So I say all that to say that our doctoral program, while relatively new, is really building off a long history of educating teachers and other educators in the science of reading. So a little bit about kind of the time span and the structure of our program. So we have people, as you heard from our panelists, who are all over the country and some in Canada. And Una would really like another Canadian, so we're on the lookout for other Canadians. But we have people all over the country, which is so much fun, and people really in different positions in education. And so our program is built for that full-time busy educator. And so during the school year, we are fully online. We do have synchronous meetings in our graduate classes. About every other week, you will meet synchronously. Every class is a little different. Some classes meet every week synchronously. So Thursday evenings from 7 to 8:30, you'll come together on Zoom and meet with the professor. Some classes have 3 or 4 meetings, so it does range by class, but we do have synchronous meetings during the school year. And then in the summer, we come together on Mount St. Joseph campus in Cincinnati, Ohio, for a week-long summer institute. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a bit. So it is year-round. So you start your first summer here, and then you do summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring, and then you graduate. The first 2 years are coursework, and then the last year is dissertation work. When you do the coursework, you do typically 2 courses each semester, and we take our 16-week semester and we cut it in half, and you do 1 course for 8 weeks, then you get a little break, and then you do a second course for 8 weeks. So that's how it typically works. In your second summer, you do get to take 3 classes, and then in your third summer, you also get to take 3 classes. But those are carefully coordinated so that it'll work for you. It's busy, but it'll work for you. Because again, our program is built for that full-time educator who is balancing doctoral work on top of, you know, a full-time professional career, as well as we know family responsibilities. Of the courses, there's kind of 3 domains or kind of 3 tracks of coursework that you take. The first is leadership and systems change. So systems change is really important in our program, as is leadership. So you take a series of classes in that area. The biggest chunk of courses that you'll take are around language, reading, and writing, as you would expect. And then there's a sequence of research and statistics classes that you take, all getting you ready for your dissertation work that 3rd year. So if you think about the 3 years, the first year is really deepening your knowledge and building your leadership skills. So you take a number of different courses to kind of get you ready for that, or to help you explore those topics. So we do start off right away with a 2-course sequence in research and statistics. And the purpose of that is to really make sure you have the foundations to read research articles and get the most out of the reading of those research articles. So that's kind of our first research, our first introduction to research is a 2-course sequence. And then you take a course in cognitive psychology, linguistics, language development, a 2-course sequence on MTSS. And then in your 2nd year, so we really think of year 1 as deepening your knowledge, really understanding the why behind the science of reading and the key pillars within the science of reading and all of the research that's connected to that. And then in year 2, it's really continuing to deepen your knowledge, of course, but also some application. So you do your research sequence, you have your foundational research courses, and now you're doing more application pieces. So you do a program evaluation and a single case design course, and then that leads into you designing your research study, which will be your dissertation. And then you also, in the 2nd year, you actually do a teaching assistant role, and you take a class around teaching in higher education, and you have a role of teaching in one of our graduate courses, which is also fully online. So that's really helpful, and learn about teaching in higher education. And then there's also involvement. Jim described he's getting ready to present at our summer. That kind of kicks off your 2nd year, doing presentations and refining your presentation skills. And then your 3rd year is all about your dissertation. You work with a dissertation chair who will guide you as you are implementing your dissertation across that 3rd year. So that's kind of how, in a nutshell, our program works. So we often get a lot of questions about our Summer Institute. And sometimes the Summer Institute at first seems like, oh gosh, a little daunting. I have to, leave my family and my job for a little bit and come to Cincinnati and be on campus for a whole week. That sounds like a lot. But I will tell you, and actually I will allow my panelists mainly to tell you, it is a real highlight of the program. It's always the last week of June. So I put up our dates just to give you an idea of this Summer Institute coming up. And our purpose behind this is really building connection and having some face-to-face time to get to know each other better, to get to know your faculty better, and to learn together, and just to have those incidental conversations, which are just a little trickier over Zoom. So we find that that time of coming together really does create those stronger relationships and bonds that really sustain us across the year when we're not able to be kind of in the same room together. Because one of our big purposes of this program is also to create professional networks across the United States of people who can call on each other and get help with the big work that you are doing in your organizations and your communities, in your districts, in your states. And so we just found that being able to have connection, not just with your cohort, but also across cohorts and with your faculty, has just been amazing. We're also able, thanks to our funder, which I'll talk about a little bit more, we're able to bring in amazing leading experts to work with our doctoral students and our faculty, and again, create these just lovely connections across our field. So during the Summer Institute, you do have time where you meet as a cohort with a class. So kind of, like a traditional class, you get to come together in a classroom at MSJ and work with your professor. as you would as if you were taking a face-to-face class. So we have class time. We also have time where you attend presentations or talks, either by faculty or other graduates. We've started last year and we're continuing moving forward, where our cohort that just graduated, so in this case, Mercedes and Tiffany's group, will come back and present their dissertations in a poster session, which has been was really valuable last year. And then we also have some social time so we can get to know each other a bit better. And so, so we'll have academic activities, and we have some activities that are cross cohorts. And so we'll have a book discussion. So we all read the same book across all cohorts and faculty, and you get into groups and discuss the book. So that's always really fun. As I said, here's some pictures of the dissertation posters from last year. We'll have evening talks, and then also some breakout sessions around some specific topics, which is really fun. So here's an example of a evening talk. Actually, I think that's Una talking last year. And then during the middle of the week, we have a community conference where we'll have keynote speakers that will come and do a presentation. And then we'll have a whole series of breakout sessions. In Jim's group, cohort 4 is leading those this year. So our doctoral students and our faculty will do breakout sessions in addition to having keynote speakers. So we've had Dr. Julie Washington, Dr. Elsa Cardenas-Hagen. Last year we had Dr. Marianne Wolf, Dr. Anita Archer, Antonio Ferrero, Joan Sededa, so people that you may know. And it's wonderful because these people both come and speak to our larger community. So it's educators across our community come together, but then also spend time with our doctoral students on other days across the week. So that's always really fun. And it gives time for our doctoral students to be able to, present and hone their presentation skills. So here's a picture of the class time, again, typical class setting where you get to work with your professors a bit. And then we also like to have some fun because we are together all week. And so there has emerged some different traditions that have come about that have been very fun. We assign you, when you first join the program, a mentor from the cohort right above you who will kind of help you go through the program. So here's Meredith and her mentee, Chantel. It's just a touch point with somebody who's in the program who can offer some advice and tips on getting started and all of those good things. Our doctoral students do live in the dorms. You don't have to, but it's an option. It's a very affordable option. And it's really fun because the doctoral students kind of take over the dorms, and that makes it kind of another bonding experience. So we have a number of different activities that we do, including kind of going out to dinner together. In the past, we have played kickball. We did a family game night last year, which was really fun, where cohorts competed against each other. So it's a mix of fun as well as a lot of learning and connection and collaboration. So I don't know if there's any questions that have emerged from the chat that would be good to bring forward from my panelists. If not, okay, I'm seeing no. Okay, great. So then I will go ahead and I'll pose a couple commonly asked questions, and you guys can just decide who would like to answer first. So what is the workload like, and are you able to balance work, family, doctoral work, and any tips for this stress management and how to make it all work? Anybody like to jump in first to answer this one?
I can answer
Thanks,
that.
Mercedes.
I think that the first thing is to know about me is that I am a kindergarten public school teacher, and we are tired. We are tired all the time. With that said, the most important thing to do is to get yourself on a schedule. I put myself on a schedule every day, only for 2 hours after school from 5 to 7 and during the week. And that was the time that I did my coursework. On Saturdays, I did a longer time if I needed to catch up on anything that I, didn't get to during the week. But I always kept to those 2 hours every day. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. but I never missed my bedtime of 9 o'clock. So I was not up late, working at 11 o'clock at night, doing all this work. I am sleeping in my bed by 9 o'clock. So if I stick to the schedule, I'm able to meet that because I need those 8 hours of sleep because kindergarten can be tough, right? We need a lot of energy. So am I able to balance the workload? Yes. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I am a teacher, I was a student. Everything was able to get done. Everybody ate dinner every night. Nobody went hungry. And I still was able to get to sleep at 9 o'clock. So long as you put yourself on a schedule and keep to it. That's really the most important part. That was the most important part for me.
Yeah, that's great advice, Mercedes. Thank you.
I think as Mercedes said, I think a lot of us have questions about, can I do this as a mom? And like she just said, yes. I have 3 kiddos and they were 5, 8, and 9 when I started the program. I will say that I spent, time at practices and school pickup line and all of those places, doing the tasks that I could get done, like reading or, working on a short assignment or things like that. So as she said, you just find times that work for you. I think each person's kind of different in their way they like to manage things. So what worked for me that I figured out was I would plan out my week. I created a weekly list of tasks, and then the bigger ones, maybe I focus on the weekend or work on the smaller ones. Just kind of how you can make it work for yourself.
That's great. Thanks, Tiffany. Yeah, we do have a lot of doctoral students who are also parents, sometimes of young children. In fact, Renata and I just met with one of our dissertation students as she was in a parking lot waiting to pick a child up from daycare. So, I think one of the things we pride ourselves on is, yes, it's a lot of work, but as Mercedes and Tiffany both nicely said, if you're organized and scheduled, you can still manage being a good parent as well as a good teacher or leader, whatever your professional role is. And we want you to still be okay and sane and happy people. So thank you. Anyone else want to answer that one, or should I jump on to the next one?
I would just add that it's totally doable, obviously. Like all of the cohorts have gotten it done. Is it easy? Does it just kind of slide in and you just like, maybe I can find a pocket of time here and a pocket of time there? You have to commit to it, and you have to set the time, like as Mercedes was talking about. And so just be aware that it is making a commitment, and absolutely worth it, wouldn't change a thing. But now that I've had a few weeks of being done with it, there's a difference between being in school and working and having a family, and working and having a family. That takes a lot of time too. So.
And I was just going to say, the nice thing about the program is that you're applying for this because this is a passion for you. So even though it's more work, and even though it fills up space that you otherwise would be spending on other things, it's work that matters, and it's work that oftentimes there's crossover between what you're doing for school plus then what you're doing for your job a lot of times. And so it's really valuable.
Thank you all. So what would you say is the best thing about the program? And then I'm going to counter that or pair that with what's the most challenging part of the doctoral program.
I can speak to that. So I think one of the best things about the doctoral program is having that support group, having the support from faculty, having the support from classmates is incredible. There's a lot of times where you have a question and you just rely on each other to help each other. And I know of other doctoral candidates that have gone through different programs that don't have a cohort or don't have the type of support from faculty. So I think the support and on each other is amazing.
I would agree with that. Thanks, Nettie.
I'll jump in and I'll just echo that point and say that for me, it's the people. I would love to say, and as much as I learned and as much as, you know, my skills shifted and I learned to do new things and to really dig into this field. I think it really was the people. I looked at a lot of different programs, and for me, this program was the right choice because I didn't want to quit my job and I didn't want to move. And I didn't really think quite so much about a cohort model versus the alternative. That wasn't something that was a big factor for me. And I think I'm lucky that I ended up in a program where there was such a strong community, and that really, you know, it just made all the difference, both in terms of connections within my cohort, across cohorts, and then with the faculty. I think, you know, the people is the best part, I would say.
I would just like to echo that from the faculty lens. What I think sets MSJ apart, of course, is the rigor of the program and alignment to the science of reading. However, it really is the support of the faculty and the cohort bonding. Not only within the cohort, they become very, very close. But the way MSJ is set up is to support you all the way through within your cohort, but then setting up a mentorship with the cohort before that, and the network of the cohorts that are family and support one another through the process, whether that's faculty or cohorts. That really is what sets MSJ apart. Of course, but aligned with that really rigorous approach to learning in the science of reading.
I'll just jump in and say, for me, it's also the people, but in order to contribute a different perspective, I will say it's also been an incredible opportunity to pay attention to myself and to my professional growth in a way that busy moms and busy family members don't often get to do. And for me, this is a get to. I have dedicated the last 2 years to developing who I am. My perspectives have changed, they've shifted, they've grown, they've broadened, but you don't always just get that time. And I think that has been a large, for me, just a huge asset of the program is developing who you are, and then learning from your cohort members so that you can honor and value other perspectives from folks in different positions. I think that's something that we don't always do as busy professionals and family members, but that's something that I know is a gift and I know will not always last, but that is something that I think is important, is the opportunity to develop yourself and pursue your dream.
Fabulous. What about what's the most challenging part of the doctoral program?
I'll chime in. I think some of what was challenging has been mentioned already throughout. So where Mercedes mentioned creating a schedule and having the discipline to stick to it. I went to the cohort 2 graduation a few weeks ago and I saw their families like so happy that they have them back. So there are things that you're going to be there with them. You're going to make some things, but you're going to have to miss some things. I was on the side of the soccer field reading and with a highlighter, and watching the game. So that's part of it. And it's not forever. It is a set amount of time and you do make it across the finish line. So I think that was one thing. Your family, your loved ones do have to get used to you behaving a little differently. So that's a challenge.
I would add a challenge that because this program is so competitive, sometimes it's the pressure that we put on ourselves and sort of the imposter syndrome, coming into the program. But being in such a collaborative and welcoming environment that does wear off. That's just sometimes a challenge that we have to work through.
That's very true, Jim. Great. All right, wonderful. All right, so keep your questions coming in the chat if you have them, and then I'll just keep going. We'll have another time to ask this wonderful panel questions as well. So one of the things that often comes out of that question of what's one of the best things about the program is this cohort model, because as you heard, we create cohorts that become very, very connected to each other and really support each other, both professionally as well as, kind of socially. So this is a completer survey from cohort 1. and I asked the question, please rate your feelings about the cohort model. And every single one of them rated it a 5. So I just thought that was very telling. And often in the comments, those are the things that are pulled forward. The other thing in this completer survey is every single person would recommend the doctoral program, which we love to hear, of course. So here's the fun thing I get to talk about next. So we are just amazingly fortunate to have a private funder who values this doctoral program and the people we're training and the kind of training that we are doing. And so they have come forward and have offered 80% tuition scholarships to every single student who's accepted. So there's not a separate scholarship application that only some people get. 80% of your tuition will be covered when you are accepted into this program. We do also have some needs-based scholarships that will cover 100%, but those are based on need. And again, everyone would get an 80% tuition scholarship, and based on demonstrated need through FAFSA, you may also be eligible for a full tuition scholarship. So that is just wonderful. And that funding has been secured for cohort 6. So the cohort that we're recruiting right now would, guaranteed we have these scholarships for cohort 6. So just to give you a quick breakdown of tuition, our tuition rate is listed here, and you can also find that information on our website. But you can see for the doctoral program, there's 60 credit hours. That does not include the prerequisites, but 60 credit hours of the doctoral program. This would be the full tuition. 80% of that is quite a nice chunk. And so the tuition for the 3 years is just under $10,000 for all 3 years. And you can see the credit hours by year on this slide as well. Additional fees, again, this information is on our website, and it does change yearly because of university policies and so forth. But application fee, and then there is a graduate student fee, and then there would be cost of books. So if you're trying to think about kind of all the costs that are involved in doctoral education at MSJ, these are some things to consider. So as I said, based on need, we do have some full scholarships for the doctoral program. We also do have some full scholarships for our reading science certificate. So I'm going to talk about the prerequisites in just a minute. The prerequisites for the doctoral program are our reading science certificate. So we have a reading science certificate that is 5 graduate courses, and those are the prerequisites for the doctoral program. So if you're somebody who already knows you need the prerequisites and you don't have that background, you may want to consider our reading science certificate. And again, we do have tuition scholarships that are need-based for the reading science certificate. If you're interested in that, Allison would be a great person to reach out to. So some additional things that we're able to provide thanks to our funding. As I said, we have wonderful contributing faculty who work with us, both at the Summer Institute and sometimes during classes. We have guest speakers. Emily Hanford regularly comes to the course Pam and I teach in the summer for the your very first summer course. Emily comes and speaks to the class. We've had Wes Hoover. We've had just, gosh, a variety of people come and do class presentations. And then we'll bring people to the Summer Institute. This summer, Louisa Motes and Anita Archer are coming to spend time with us during the week of the Summer Institute. So our funding is enabling us to bring these people to campus. We're also able to provide teaching assistant work. So as I said, in your second year, at the beginning of your second year, you take a course around teaching in higher education. After you take that course, if you are interested in building your resume or just getting more experience in teaching, we have teaching assistantships that we're able to provide you a stipend to work in our fully online graduate program as a teaching assistant. So it's a small piece, so it's not overwhelming, but it does provide you that experience as well as a stipend. Also, all of our doctoral students are gifted from this funding a stipend to go to national conferences. So you can have up to 2 stipends of $1,500 to cover registration, travel costs, all of those kinds of things to go to a conference. So our goal is that every doctoral student is able to go to 2 conferences across their 3 years in the program with us. And it's also really fun because everybody goes, and so we're able to connect during the school year in person, which is always really fun as well, because faculty also attend these conferences. So we go to Reading League, IDA, Plain Talk, Big Sky, so the big reading science conferences. We usually have a pretty good presence of faculty and doctoral students. Couple program requirements to know about. We do require during your first semester with us, or before, some people have this entering the program, a passing score on the K Perry test. So that's the test through IDA. And we do require that you pass that in kind of the first semester with us or before. As I said, a lot of people bring that in with them. And then the big requirements of the program to know about: at the end of the second year, you do a portfolio. And we do that instead of comprehensive exams. So some doctoral programs will have a comprehensive exam, and some programs will have a portfolio. So we are a portfolio model, and you work on that portfolio kind of across your second year, and you turn it in at the end of your second year. And there's a requirement to get a passing score on that in order to proceed with your dissertation. And then your dissertation. So you do a dissertation, as I said, during your third year. And at the end of that dissertation, you write up the dissertation, of course, and then you also do an oral defense of your dissertation. And that is typically anywhere from February to May of that third year. So there's often a lot of questions about the dissertation and how we're supporting students in that dissertation process. And I'm going to ask our panel to give you a little rundown of what either their dissertation was, if they've completed it, or what their plans might be if they're still planning it, just to give you an idea of the range of topics. We are a practitioner-oriented program. So as you'll hear from the topics, our topics are very applied research that has relevance in the preschool through high school area or in higher education. So you will choose a dissertation chair, and that is somebody that you get to choose. And it's somebody that you both have a match in terms of your research interests, and somebody that you feel would be a good person to work with during your third year. So that dissertation chair is the primary person who's going to guide your dissertation. You start meeting with your chair weekly in the spring of your second year, and then you meet with that person kind of throughout the end of your second year into that summer, and then across the next year. So it's somebody that you want to feel comfortable with and that you will feel supported by. You also, as part of your work with your chair, will also choose a committee member, and sometimes 2 committee members, and that committee also has the role of guiding you, not quite as intensely as your chair, but also, will be people who can support your dissertation work, answer questions, provide guidance, and so forth. In terms of getting to your dissertation, we really value getting you done, both for your sake and also for our sake as faculty, because we have 20 students that we work with in their dissertation, and there's like 20 students right behind them ready to go. And so we really want you to get done, because you don't want to hang out in a program forever, because some doctoral programs don't have that as a big goal. We do. And so we help you choose a dissertation that is both of interest to you and strong and good, but also something that can get done in the timeline that is set out for you. So during your spring of your second year, you start really planning your dissertation. Actually, in the summer before you start your second year, you will begin to plan it. So you're kind of working on it across your second year. And then in the spring of the second year, you really plan it. The summer, you write it up in a proposal and get that proposal defended. And then in the fall of your third year, that's when you're implementing. In the winter, you write it up. And in the late winter and spring, you defend it. So that's kind of the arc of the dissertation. We are also really fortunate, thanks to Dr. Anita Archer, who set up a dissertation fund. Every doctoral student has $1,000 that they can apply for to support the work of their dissertation. So if you're doing an intervention study and you need to buy intervention materials, you can use your dissertation fund to buy materials or supports to help you analyze your data and so forth. So we are really, really thankful for Dr. Archer. She's become a very good friend of our program. She comes to our summer institute, spends the whole week with us. And as I said, she started co-teaching last year a class with me in the summer, and she's doing it again this year, which is just, what an honor and so much fun. So if I can, and I would love for everybody to just give a tiny spiel about their dissertation. So maybe just your topic, so we can kind of hear what types of topics are being done. If you don't mind, I'll call on you just so we can kind of make sure everybody can talk. So Una, can I ask you to go first?
Sure. So my dissertation was a group design, and I looked at teacher online structured literacy training and how to optimize that in terms of impacts on knowledge and satisfaction and self-efficacy.
Yes, thank you. Mercedes.
So my dissertation looked at the effects of adding Spanish language supports to a comprehension program for preschool multilingual learners.
Tiffany.
So I have two of my three children have difficulties with language-based reading. And so I looked at enhancing family school collaboration because that was a real passion for me with second grade students and families. So we offered a tutoring program where I offered one session of tutoring while the families observed me. So it was kind of an embedded coaching. And then the families were then able to offer two additional supports aligned to the curriculum used by the school.
Well, thank you. Meredith.
Yeah, so I did a survey design, and my dissertation was on teacher feedback to students that speak African American language, what teachers thought about types of feedback and what they thought about language variation.
Rhonda.
So I am investigating the impact of two different types of instructional models for Tier 1 phonics instruction. One where matched to skill need in smaller groups, one with a traditional scope and sequence. And then the layer I've added is looking at the impact of Lexia Core 5 as a Tier 2 intervention and how those different models might impact their efficiency with working within that program, because instructional technology is such a burgeoning field for us all to manage.
Wonderful. And Rhonda is proposing her dissertation right now. Cohort 3, as is Nicole and Nettie. And Nicole and Nettie are doing something interesting because they are working together. So Nicole, do you want to start? And then Nettie, you guys can chime in however you want to talk about it.
I know we get to do too bad we're not standing side by side. So Nettie and I are working on a tool development design that centers translanguaging that will help monolingual English-speaking teachers support Spanish-speaking students' acquisition of phonics. And Nettie, do you want to, I don't know, I can't see her, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think you said everything, Nicole, but we are looking at the cross-linguistic connections between the English and language phonemes, particularly graphemes and so forth. So we're really excited.
Fabulous. And then Jim, and just to preface Jim's at the beginning. He said he hasn't taken the course yet with me and Kelly where he gets to really dive in. But Jim, do you have a topic area that you want to share for dissertation ideas?
Ooh, every time I think I have an idea, it changes. So yes, similar to actually Rhonda, I have some ideas around maybe some skill-based phonics instruction, but also MTSS. So definitely swimming in ideas right now.
Awesome. And Renata, I missed you. I missed you when I tried to do it by cohort, but you were at the bottom of my screen. Sorry, Renata. And Renata was in cohort 1.
Yes, so I did a descriptive correlational survey study about Black principals and their level of self-efficacy as it relates to literacy, knowledge, and MTSS.
Fabulous. So as you can hear from this group, which I think is pretty representative of our whole, lots of MTSS, family engagement, interventions with young children, tools that help teachers with something that they need support with. The other thing that I love about our program is they are all applicable and important to our education as our field in general, but they all come from, you know, an educator perspective, which I love. Like I think everybody in this Zoom meeting would tell you that it came from something they wanted to know or something they were involved in or doing, and that's just really wonderful. The other thing I wanted to just point out is you heard again from this nice group, there was survey research and group design, single case design, and you know, tool development. So I think we have a nice program evaluation. So we have a nice, we train you in enough things that you can kind of choose a design that works well for your applied project. And again, we support you in figuring all of that out. And then you learn a lot more about your design after you choose a design and kind of take it on to, you know, do your dissertation. So great. Anything anybody wants to share about the dissertation process, or I think especially a question I get a lot, and sorry, this wasn't on the slide, but is how do you come up with your idea and what kind of support is involved in getting you from kind of Jim's kind of great, he's in the perfect place for where he is in the program, kind of some broad ideas down to a specific project that you can implement in a pretty short amount of time. Does anybody want to speak to that?
I would say I just had someone reach out to me about the program actually, and I think they were very anxious about the dissertation. They said, I don't know what a dissertation's like. I don't know anything about it. So I walked through the process and how it was just so step by step. You know, you're set on a really great path from the beginning. I think that getting you ready for the dissertation is embedded in even your first course. So looking at research in those pieces. So just knowing that you have so much support along the way. And I would say that's one of the best things about this program too, is the amount of support. So meeting with your chair once a week for an hour is like unheard of in other programs. I feel like you just have so much support. Yes, like Jim said, I was floating around different ideas. And when you met with your chair, it just kind of, you got to that, it was great to be able to say, what is my passion, and to take that further, and they will help you in kind of funneling that and figuring that out. But you're just very, very supportive the whole way through.
And it's not unusual to have no idea what a dissertation is until you get pretty much to the class that Jim's about to take this summer, which is where you kind of first understand it. In fact, I have the book right here. It's like you get a book that's basically what is a dissertation. And we all use that a lot. So in that summer, starting your second year, you take a class with myself and Kelly Powell-Smith, and we purposefully have two of us teach it so that we can give you a lot of support as you're first taking that broad idea into a little bit more specific, and then across your second year, it gets more and more specific. So great.
I also want to mention that in my experience, just meeting with my advisor, which was you, Dr. Murdoch, and really having those conversations about what are you really interested in? It never felt like I was being geared in a different direction than what my passion is or what my interests are. And so that is very, I feel like that's really good news whenever you're going through planning for your dissertation, because this is going to be a work that you're going to be doing for a year. And so just having that opportunity to get to speak to your advisor and them kind of guiding you through the process makes that selection of your dissertation topic that much easier. Not that the dissertation itself is easy, but the topic and really focusing in on that has been really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Nettie, because you do, when you first start the program, you're assigned an advisor. And it really doesn't matter who your advisor is, because we do the same thing with everyone. So it doesn't have to be somebody who matches your interests at that point. And the good thing about our faculty, although we definitely have areas of interest and passions, we also are generalists. And so, my passion is early childhood, but I have worked in preschool through high school as a practitioner. And so, even though I have a specific, I do have a broad knowledge, and so I can support different ideas. And then we'll tell you like, oh, hey, you should go talk to Pam Kastner because you're interested in spelling, and that's Pam's area. So we'll also connect you to other faculty early on. And then for your dissertation chair, you do get to choose that person. But your advisor early on, as Nettie nicely said, kind of helps you. And again, we all have these structured conversations to start you thinking about your areas of interest. So,
Well,
thank you.
and Dr. Murdoch, can I also tell them the whole first year, we're told, don't worry about it. Just go to the classes, do all the reading. And the way the courses are set up, there are different topics that are going to really help you develop what you're really interested in along the way. And you read and you read and you read, and you suddenly find the things. And so you discover your dissertation sometimes more than I think you even have to really think about it. It just kind of happens, and that's really lovely with a lot of work along the way, but.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Rhonda.
Can I just add one thing?
Please. Yes, of course, Dr. Gabel.
Because we've gone through all this where we finally figure out what we want to do, what our dissertation is going to be. And then sometimes you get to the, okay, now what? Like, uh-oh, you are not going to be left alone. That's really the first and the most major thing. As Tiffany said, the support is incredible. Dr. Murdoch was my chair, so I was very privileged. But I also told her probably like at the end of every meeting, okay, I trust you. If you're saying I'm on track, if you're saying, okay, I'm good, I'm trusting what you're saying, because we don't know, right? We're entering into this unknown area. But it was made so much easier with that support. And it's like very focused. Okay, we are working on the introduction. So don't worry about the other pieces. Let's worry about this. We go through it step by step, so you're never left alone. And that's really important.
Oh, thank you, Mercedes. And that is something I think we take pride in. And this is where it is good to be cohort 3, because we have figured out like or cohort 3 and beyond. And Mercedes was cohort 2, and she still is smiling in here today. But, we've really figured out kind of the steps, and we really, we're all explicit structured literacy people. So we want to make the dissertation as structured and systematic as possible, even though there's vagueness to a dissertation. And so we do really try to support you along the way. And we know you guys are busy, busy people. You're full-time educators and family members. And so we do really try to make it kind of steps that you can follow rather than, more ambiguous, which there's a little bit of ambiguity. I'm not going to lie to you with dissertations. There's stuff to figure out, but we do try to kind of make it systematic. So thank you guys. All right, so I'm going to let Allison talk a little bit about the application process and give you some information about how to access materials around the application.
Sure, thanks, Amy. So you can see at the bottom of the screen there that the apply button, the apply website is right there. The application will open on July 1st, not before, so you don't need to start one anytime soon. Right here, it'll just show you the step-by-step. So once you start your application, you'll be prompted to put all of your information in. You'll need to order all of your transcripts that we will review. And that is part of a review for prerequisites, along with the additional materials like an essay and references and your resume. So the application is actually probably very simple from the standpoint that it keeps you on track. So you can start it, you can leave it, you can come back to it, you can upload documents as you go along. I think the important part is that you don't need to rush through it. So definitely take your time when you're completing the application, because we do really look at it holistically. So from the start to the finish, we're looking at each piece. So it's not going to be that we look at just your prereqs. We look at everything. So certifications, trainings, your education, your work experience. So it's all reviewed in the application. And what's great, like I said, the application will keep you on track. So you'll have a checklist of items that you can complete. and you can start it and stop it and come back to it through July 1st through November 1st when the deadline for a completed application. And you can see here just an outline of what is required. So for your 3 professional references, we actually just ask for their contact information and we will send a survey. So you don't have to worry about collecting letters of recommendation, things like that. If you have those, they can be uploaded to your application. That's really nice that you can upload additional materials to your application at any time. I will ask though that we don't need to have full syllabi for your prerequisite. It really does bog down the application. There are some that we've received that are 800 pages, and it's really hard to decipher what's important to read and what's something that we can kind of skim over. So when you are applying, course descriptions are wonderful. A detailed resume is important. And anything else, if there are questions, our admission committee will ask. So if we need additional materials, we will ask for those. Yeah. And just to answer a question that's in the box, if you did apply last year or 2 years ago, you are more than welcome to reapply. What's great about that when you reapply is that you don't have to reorder your transcripts unless you took additional courses. We hold those in our system.
Yeah, and I would just say, if you are somebody who didn't get accepted in the past and are reapplying, absolutely go for it. We have had a number of fabulous people who didn't get in the first time, but then did get in the second time. And so we view those with fresh eyes, and we're excited to see those for sure. One tip I will give you: don't just reapply with the same application. Really think about what are ways that I have enhanced my application. And so, I can think of somebody who didn't get in the first year, and then when she applied the second year, she had, been a leader in the reading league in her state, did a number of things that kind of showed that she was learning. She took on some additional coursework. And so kind of think about that. And I would say highlight that in your letter, because we're really looking for people who have that growth mindset, as everybody is, right? And really thinking about leadership, because usually when people don't get in, it's because they, didn't highlight something around like their leadership. And it doesn't mean you have to be like a principal or a superintendent. Mercedes shared she's a kindergarten teacher. So we're also looking for leadership potential, and then that mindset of, I want to take this information and make change at my local, state, whatever level. And so just kind of keep that in mind as well. If you're somebody who's applying again, maybe highlight in your letter how, what that year between last year and this year has looked like. And we do really welcome that. And just about that letter, we really look at that carefully. It is a writing sample, and it is something that we're looking for your professional writing, and then also your match with our mission and our program and what we are training people to do. We're looking for a match because we want to make sure you're successful and that we're the right program for you. And so that's important. And just in terms of the admissions committee, who's on the admissions committee? So I'm always on the admissions committee as the program director, and then 4 other faculty members. So it's a admissions committee of 5 faculty members, including myself. So Allison kind of takes the first pass just to make sure everything's there and those minimal requirements are met. And then it is faculty who are reviewing your materials. And as Allison said, and I'll talk about the prerequisites in just a second, don't overwhelm the system with syllabi or documentation, because we will ask questions if we don't know something, or if something isn't clear in terms of your prerequisites. So let's turn to the prerequisites, and I'm going to have the panel talk about their experience with prerequisites in just a second as well. So here's the big idea about the prerequisites. We are a doctoral program in the science of reading, and we want to make sure that you have the prerequisite knowledge to enter a doctoral program in the science of reading. So we think of our doctoral program really picking up where our master's degree in the science of reading left off. That does not mean you have to have a master's degree from MSJ in the science of reading. And I think on this call, I think there's only one person who does. So, I think that's a myth that's out there about our program, because I've heard it a lot. You absolutely do not have to have any coursework from MSJ. The reason we have the 5 core prerequisites is to say, this is the knowledge that we expect. And if you don't have this knowledge, you can come to Mount St. Joe and do our reading science certificate. And I know at least one person on this call who did that, because she didn't have that and wanted to get that. But you don't have to, okay? But that's our way of saying, here's the core knowledge that we expect. Here's the courses that we offer that cover that core knowledge. So that's the big idea. It's not because we want you to take our courses. It's really because we want to be able to jump off everybody on a similar basic level of knowledge. Of course, knowledge is going to vary, but having that basic knowledge as you begin our courses, doctoral courses. So I know this print is really small. This isn't necessarily meant for you to read. It's meant to direct you to our website. We have our prerequisites outlined. So there's the little place on the website that you can click the little form. And it talks to you about what the course description is, the key content that is covered, and the text that is used, okay? And then we ask you to tell us, now if you did happen to go to Mount St. Joseph, all you have to do is just put the year you completed this course and the grade you got. Obviously, it's on your transcript as well. You don't need to say anything else, because if you went through our program, we know the course. If you didn't say you went to another IDA accredited program that is a science of reading program, and they had a course very similar to this, you can attach that syllabus. Again, as Allison said, if it's a super long syllabus, you might just attach the first couple pages to say the description and the outline of the course content. You're completed in grade. And I will tell you, we know the other IDA accredited programs. And so if you went to Gordon College, for example, and did their reading specialist degree, I know those courses, or I know people I can easily contact if there's a course I don't recognize. If you know you went to a whole language master's degree program, don't bother giving us the syllabus, just to be blunt, because we're going to take one look at that first page of that syllabus and we're going to know this isn't a science of reading program. And so, I think you may have other experiences. So maybe you did a master's degree that was more balanced literacy. That's okay. We know that's the state of the world, but you've done other professional experiences. Highlight those. Don't even bother. We'll see your transcript. Don't even bother to say, oh, I got a master's degree and I did this course. If it's not a science of reading program, it's not going to meet these core requirements. Not that having that master's degree is impressive regardless, just in terms of the work ethic and all of that stuff. So we do value that. But in terms of these prerequisites, we're looking for the foundations that you need to be successful in our specific doctoral program. So kind of keep that in mind. And there is a place on the form at the bottom to write us a little narrative. And one of our most successful doctoral students, that's what she did. She had a very whole language master's degree, but she had extremely impressive other experiences. And it was hard to put it all together. So she wrote a little narrative around each course, and that was extremely helpful as we were making decisions. And then we would talk to her about it. So also know that if we're not sure and we think you're a good candidate otherwise, we're gonna have a conversation with you about those prerequisites. So do your best to fill that out. Again, you can write a little narrative for us to help us understand. I don't have a course that directly matches this, but I have this, and this kind of professional development that I've done. And then I have this, and this professional experience. We value all of that. So that's all very helpful and important. So some of the things that we have seen people put down that do help us with prerequisites. Obviously, if you've attended either our reading science program or a different IDA accredited reading science program, that's very helpful. Orton Gillingham training that is IDA accredited is also, or other structured literacy programs that are IDA accredited are very helpful and do often count for our coursework. Intensive professional learning training with coaching and documentation of mastery, that is structured literacy. Those are things that also have counted and helped. So again, keep in mind the big intent. We are looking for people who can jump into our doctoral program coursework and not miss a beat and be successful, because we want you to be successful and we plan for you to be successful. And so that's really what we're looking for these prerequisites. If you are looking at our prerequisite form and you think, gosh, I really need all 5 of these, that might be an indication where you say, you know what, I'm going to do some coursework before I apply to the doctoral program. If you look at our prerequisite and you think, gosh, I think I only need 1 or 2, then what we tell you is apply, 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 because you can take, though, and many people on this call, which I'm going to open up in just a second, have taken prerequisites, and they just had 1 or 2 courses that they needed. You are accepted into the doctoral program in December, and you have a whole semester before you begin your doctoral coursework in May. And so we've had students, many students, who have taken 1 or 2 prerequisite courses before they start their doctoral program. And that is very common and helpful. Actually, before I move on, maybe I'll ask that question here. Is anybody willing to talk about their prerequisite experience, if you had to do prerequisites coming into the program?
Yes, I will say that the prerequisites really helped me get into student mode. I had not been back in school for quite some time. And so what I found is that really helped me develop some solid habits and routines and things that were talked about earlier with your support system, just really kind of getting your mindset ready. On top of that, I also appreciated the opportunity to get to the place where my professors knew I needed to be in order to be successful in the program. Who am I to say whether I'm ready or not? I put my trust in them. I think I needed 2. I think I did 2. And it just really helped me feel confident and ready for coursework. So those would be my 2 big things for prerequisites.
Great, thank you.
I would echo all of that. I took 2 prerequisites as well, and I think my first class, there was like 5 students in it, so it's just really nice to get to know some people and form. We still have a text group, you just form a close relationship to those first few people that you meet, and that was helpful to transition into the next class. Then transitioning into the doctoral program is just very smooth. So very grateful to have had the opportunity to do the extra courses.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, and I'll say, just to piggyback off of Jim's comment for a second, the doctoral students take the prerequisites together. And so you're not in there with other master's degree students, you have your own section. So as Jim said, it is kind of fun because you get to know in a smaller group other people in your cohort. So. Great. Thank you. All right, some timeline pieces. So Allison kind of alluded to this, so let me just make sure we have the dates all outlined. So she told you that the admission window will open July 1st, so it's not even open yet, so you have some time to get your materials together. The deadline for the first admission round is November 1st. We do have a second admission round, but I will tell you, we have never used it. Could happen this year, I don't know, but if you're serious about wanting to be in the May 2026 cohort, don't even look at that second round, because like I said, we've never used it. We've always filled our cohort in that first round. So I'm expecting the same thing, although you never know. But go for the July 1st unless things change. We'll of course let you know, but July 1st is what we're anticipating, and then November 1st as the deadline. And I will say that we hold that deadline firm just so that we can keep up our end of the bargain by making sure that we are letting everybody know by December 20th. And so we will shut it down November 2nd, right, Allison? So if your application comes in after November 1st, 11:59 p.m. Just to be fair to everyone, we do say, sorry, you can apply next year. So get your stuff in way before November 1st if this is, really what you want to do. We schedule interviews November through really mid-December, and then we make decisions by December 20th. We learn a lot, and actually many people on this call have been a part of interviews because we involve our doctoral students in the interview process. So you will be interviewed by one faculty member and one doctoral student, and we take those interviews very seriously. And, we're looking for people who are serious and prepared, and, it's okay if you're nervous. We understand that, but we're really looking for preparedness. And I can tell you, we know that as you would imagine, we know that pretty fast. And so take that interview really seriously, like practice, time yourself, because you'll be given a time framework to stay within. And it's not good when you go above the, beyond the framework or time frame, and you still have half your presentation left. So that is a really important decision point for us. And so that's my big advice, is take that seriously, practice, get some feedback, all of the things you would imagine that you need to for an interview. Make sure your slides look good, that there aren't typos. And again, we understand nervousness. We're not looking for perfection, but we are looking for preparedness and ability to communicate your ideas. All right, so here's our last kind of slide, just around some frequently asked questions. So what do students typically do after they complete their doctorate program at MSJ? I'm just going to stop sharing because the last question. Anybody want to share on behalf of their cohort? Maybe some of the cohorts that have finished.
I'll jump in.
Thanks, Renata.
Yes, and I know cohort 2 will probably talk about, they just finished. So when you finish the dissertation, it's obviously a celebration and you're happy, but it's a journey. And so there's some transition and thinking, and I didn't take a new job, but I added to my plate. So I did start teaching some of the master's courses at MSJ. We started doing work together in our cohort. So projects, applying for, things, working on curriculum projects. So lots of every reason that you apply to this program, you just throw yourself into that. So I'm extremely busy, and I think everyone, all of us, and cohort 2 is going to become busy too. But that's why we went to the program, is to just really immerse ourselves in the work in every way we can. I started presenting, at conferences, and that wasn't something I was doing before, not in a large way. So it's still exciting. It's some transition after you finish the program. So yes.
And I'm going to brag on Renata a little bit more. I think the other thing that you've done too is, within your own current position, you've really risen in terms of your expertise and your kind of being a go-to person. So she's like basically the person in New York City, right, Mercedes, to go to for structured literacy. So Renata has taken over New York City, and then Una has taken over Ontario. So Una, do you want to talk a little bit about your role that you moved into?
Sure. So part of, I will just say, throughout the program, I was involved with my local branch of IDA. And that went wonderfully, and I really enjoyed that. Sort of towards the tail end of my time at Mount St. Joseph, I moved into a national role with Dyslexia Canada. So really working to affect changes to policy and practice and teacher training across the country, which has been really neat and really awesome to work sort of on a national scale. And then I've also sort of added on, layering onto that, some adjuncting work in higher education at 2 Canadian universities, just knowing that part of a really important way of getting all that really good stuff happening across, the national scale, is to make it where we have teachers who are trained and ready to teach all children to learn to read when they start in the workplace. So that's really been my year. It's been a busy one, but a really exciting one.
Yeah, I'd say having a little bit more time, or thinking I do. I've started being a little bit more involved in volunteer roles in my own community and state. So took on the role of president of the Reading League Kansas, and we're working to build coalition with IDA Kansas and Missouri and Decoding Dyslexia, and want to pick Dr. Castor's brain soon because she has such a huge impact in Pennsylvania with coalition. So just kind of working in different modes, bringing what you have within your personal position in the state. So like I said, I'm going into a literacy coordinator role, but I see that as a way to support statewide. What more can I do with that role and what I learn in that role?
And I know many of our graduates or people looking forward to graduating are very interested in higher ed, which we love. And so, as Renata said, and Una said too, sometimes you can't do that full time, but being an adjunct or supporting higher ed in some way, many of our graduates do that. And then leadership roles, either within their current organization or other organizations, are things that that we see and that we expect. Like we want you guys to take over New York City and Ontario and Kansas and beyond. So great. So I know we just have a few more minutes, so I always like to end kind of our time just asking you if you could share kind of why MSJ, either why you chose it initially or why you're glad you chose it at the end of your journey. So whoever wants to start, and Pam, you can totally join in as well as a faculty member.
I'm going to say that the mission statement was what grabbed my heart to begin with. And everything in that mission statement is truly what the program's about. So you will get that literacy, equity, peace, social justice, all of that is enveloped in there. I can't be happier with that. That's what drew me in to begin with. But as we've mentioned, the incredible support from your faculty, everybody, it's a family, and your cohort. The cohort model, like we said, and it's just a very strong program. You're going to leave the program with a huge knowledge, but also being on top of the most current research, having your cohort in various roles. You're going to lean on them and your faculty even after you leave the program in your various roles. So.
And to add to that, some of us don't even want to leave MSJ. So wherever we are asked for help, we are there, and they can't seem to get rid of us. So that's another thing. You pick MSJ. I picked MSJ because I couldn't find, when I originally started looking, I couldn't find a doctoral program that was based on reading science. And that was like the very first thing that drew me to MSJ. And the thing that kept me there and will continue to keep me around is the people, the love, the support, the kindness, and the expertise is beyond. So definitely the best choice I've made.
And the same for me. I have adjuncted, or I've been a contributing faculty member at other universities, and there really truly is no place not like Mount St. Joseph in terms of the faculty, the collaboration that we have, the collaboration that we have with our students. We do see it as a two-way street. We are learning from you, and you are learning from us, and that collegiality between students and teachers and the support from one another, there really just is not. It's the culture and the climate that sets, I think, MSJ apart. But of course, embedded within that, the foundation, the commitment to social justice, and the science of reading, the science of literacy. It is a passion, and it's a passion that is lived. It's an action, not just a statement. It's lived throughout MSJ.
I always jokingly, but really seriously say I waited my whole life to find these people. And so, I chose MSJ to start with because I was burned before. I spent a lot of money on a degree that didn't help me help children. And so when I wanted to come back, I decided to go to the place. And when I did my research, Mount St. Joseph was the place. I just didn't bargain on it being the place where I found my other people. And they were waiting, and it's time. And I hope that the people who are on this call find their people too.
That's great. Thank you all so much. I just want to end with why I chose MSJ. So I chose MSJ because for me, it's always about the social justice issue and the like heartbreaking thing that so many of our children are not reading well, and especially children because of access and social justice. So if there's a little joke that we get like emotional, and it's not emotional because we're weak or scared, but it's emotional because we're like so passionate about the injustices that are in the world, and that only a few have access to the good things in life, and we want to make sure all have access. And we know reading is a strong, clear path to access. So I feel so fortunate to be at a university that has allowed me and my team to create a program that we can bring together these amazing people, like the people who are on this Zoom call and beyond, to fight for social justice and the human right, the civil right, to make sure that our schools are equipped and our teachers are equipped to support all children to have access to reading, which is a basic human right. And so I'm just so fortunate that I get to gather these amazing people around me, and I get to learn from, and we get to fight this really important fight to make sure that our society is more equitable and just through the work that all these amazing people do in our schools. So that's what I just feel so fortunate to be a part of this community. So if you are interested in Mount St. Joseph, if this seems like a good match for you, we welcome your application. We look forward to reading through applications and getting to know kind of another fabulous group that we'll get to welcome into our MSJ family. So thank you to all of my fabulous MSJ family for being here this evening and giving of your time. Please do reach out if you have any questions. And yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Take care. Thank you, guys. Stop the recording.